The ASI AIR is a great device to help anyone get the ball rolling into deep sky astrophotography. But what's missing? There are some things that are available in other programs, and there are some things that would be just nice to have. But either way, let's go over that. In this video, we are going to go over my next generation ASI AIR improvement wish list. Now, some of these things they could add in fairly quickly, but other things, it might take a few years just to get some research done or produce hardware needed. Either way, they could be considered for future improvements. Now, the reason that I bring this up is that some of these improvements could ease the transition from the person who picked up their first ASI AIR and that's where they started with astrophotography, and take them all the way into the advanced and even professional levels if they so choose to go that route. Now just remember, the ASI AIR Plus has been out for almost 2 years at the time of this video, and the ASI AIR app 2.0 has been out for roughly 10 months by now. So what could be next? To start off, let's go into the app. There are some things missing in the app that could help improve things. And the first one is some additional options for run completion. When you're setting up your auto run or your plan, you only get really 2 options to deal with what the AIR does when it's done. It either goes to the home position or it turns off, or both if you have both switches on. But one thing that comes in handy, and I credit this to a fellow club member and also a viewer here in the channel, is sending the mount to zenith. That way you can put your flats panel on and take your flats right away. Or you could even set a custom position. Say if you're somebody that has an observatory in your home, you can have it point at the wall where your flats panel is located. Allowing some custom positions other than just the home position in the app and save it as a profile would help speed things along. Now this one is all about prevention from hitting your tripod. Now some other programs have the ability to use horizon detection, and when the object gets below a certain degree marker in the sky, it stops the program. And I would love to see the ASI AIR do that. If say your object gets down to about 20 degrees west, then hey, you're getting a little bit too close, you might run into the tripod, just stop the program and then go to those other previous steps that I mentioned, whether it's go to zenith, or if you have an auto run set up and you have a secondary target for the night, move to that, or just go to home and shut off. Either way, it's just a nice little safety feature to make sure that your telescope and your tripod don't clash before the program's done. Now within the app, these next 2 options kind of go a little bit hand in hand. First one is an offline or a plan mode. Now in the region I live in, and I'm sure that there's a lot of you out there that live in a similar region, having a clear night that's moonless with no smoke from wildfires or anything like that is precious. And you don't want to spend your time setting up your plan while it's already clear. Instead, it would be nice to have an offline mode where you can plan your session before even going outside. And in that same vein, and I credit this one to a Discord user of mine, Jonas, they mentioned that you should also have the ability to save equipment profiles. And the reason for that is, say you have a refractor and a DSLR, or a refractor and the 2600, or you have an SCT and a planetary camera, and they're all on different mounts. Being able to tell the ASI AIR, hey, I'm using this setup before you even go in without having to change every single little thing would help. And in that same vein, having coordinate profiles would be great too. I tend to do my astrophotography in about 4 different locations frequently. Both observatories here in the region, my backyard, and then up at Cherry Springs State Park. Now I know the coordinates for all of them, but it would be nice for the end user to say, hey, I'm in this spot that I typically shoot at, just use this profile here, and it already has the coordinates and the altitude and everything saved. Either way, being able to set all of that up in offline mode without having to have the ASI AIR directly on and attached and ready to roll, just save it as a feature in the app itself, would just be a huge time saver. Okay, getting down to the last few things with just the app itself, the one thing that I really do like is that there is the planetarium view in the app itself. However, I have no idea where this horizon is. It would be nice if the app allowed you to do something similar to what Stellarium does and add your landscape. Now, for example, if you're out in the middle of nowhere where there's a field and there's no buildings or trees nearby, then the default horizon is actually pretty good. But in my backyard, my entire eastern sky is completely blocked. So it would be nice for the ASI AIR to know, hey, that region of sky is not usable. Or Say in your case you have a tree in your southwestern sky, and it just lets the ASI AIR know that, hey, if I'm trying to shoot anything in this region of the sky, this tree's gonna get in the way. So let's coordinate that with the plan mode and make sure that, you know, if it's gonna hit the tree, it stops. Another little thing that has been discussed plenty of times that I've seen both at star parties and on my Discord channel is some way to add a delay in between each frame in either auto run or plan mode. That way you can set up your lights, have it go to zenith as I mentioned earlier, and then give you a few minutes to get your flats panel put on, get it turned on to the right brightness and all of that, get everything set up, but already have your flats in the sequence. That way all you have to do is get the light turned on and then just wait, let the flats run, have another delay, take the panel off, put your cap on, and here come your dark flats. Just adding in those little time savers would just make the automating process a lot easier. Now, there is one other thing that I wanted to add, and I can't remember exactly what it is. I know it's related to the app. It has something to do with the color of the device. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna put it in editing. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Now, before we move on to the hardware side of upgrades, I do have a question for you. Out of what I have mentioned, is there anything that I missed that you would like to see in the next iteration of the ASI AIR? Now remember, the ASI AIR Plus has been out for 2 years, and then they also put out the Mini and an upgraded version of the Plus. But what about the next? What do you want to see in the next version? Let me know down in the comments below. Moving into the hardware side of things, the ASI AIR is already a complete package. But the thing about it is ZWO loves to add on little additions, such as the CAA coming up. They haven't released it yet, it's still being worked on and researched and produced and all that stuff, but there's always accessories coming out. Now with more accessories coming out, here's a few accessories that would probably be pretty cool to help out. For somebody trying to go from a beginner level to an advanced level, or they're building something in their backyard as a permanent setup, finding a way to interface the ASI AIR with observatory controls would be outstanding. Now, I would not have this built into the ASI AIR itself. I would have it be a secondary device that allows compatibility with other programs. You know, maybe have ZWO come up with an observatory controller that works both with the ASI AIR and with Nina, for example. That way it can ease the transition for laptop users versus pure ASI AIR users, and allow a little bit of leeway to where if an observatory producer comes up with a new way to control their observatory, you can add the drivers to control it. I think anybody using an ASI AIR that wants to build an observatory would love to see this. Now, with more and more accessories getting added, there's one huge bummer about the ASI AIR as it stands today. There's only 4 USB slots on it. Now, if you're using a ZWO camera, you get the additional benefit of 2 extra USB slots. But beyond that, that's only 6 slots total. As more things get added, we run out of room. Think about it. We already have the main camera that needs to be dealt with. We have the mount, the guide camera if you're not using a duo, the autofocuser, the electronic focusing wheel, and then the CAA is coming out. That's already filling up a lot of different spots on the USB hub. And if they come out with more attachments, we're gonna need more, whether the next iteration of the ASI AIR has more USB slots built in, or they find a way to at least allow us to use third-party USB hubs and find a decent way to mount it on top of the Air, so that way cable management is a little bit easier. So another downside right now to the current iteration of the ASI AIR is that it has that 6 amp limit on how much power it can output. With all those accessories, gonna need to find a way to power it all. There's 2 ways they can go about this. They could either work with Pegasus or Celestron and see about finding a way to interface those 2 together, so that way there's a little bit of promotion between each brand, or they could come up with their own. Either way, there needs to be a way to handle the power with any new accessories that may be produced in the future. And the nice thing about having some kind of external power box is it would help balance the load. And if they do it right, they can make sure that there's also a USB way to plug into the Air. That way, if you're plugging your dew heaters into the power box, the ASI AIR can still control it. Now, this last hardware side thing is one I thought of that would just be cool. I think it would be super helpful. It doesn't need to do too much, but some kind of sensor that senses the weather around the scope. I'm not talking about the thermometer that comes with the autofocuser, but what I'm talking about is something that actually detects whether it's going to start raining or changes in barometric pressure, and then just sends an alert to the tablet or the phone that you're using that like, hey, you might want to go outside and take a look at the sky real quick, because you might get wet. This last thing on the wish list is kind of covering all of it, but it's something that I've seen across the Astro community on many forums, in person, many chats, all kinds of stuff, and that is cross-compatibility. I know ZWO is a small team, and they have limited time and resources to work on cross-compatibility. However, I would encourage anybody from any other brand that has something that could work with an ASI AIR, please do reach out to them and start working with them. Try to get that cross-compatibility. As I mentioned above, instead of creating the power module, maybe Pegasus could just reach out to ZWO and say, hey, here's the drivers you need to use our device. Or with Celestron's dew heater controller, they could say, hey ZWO, here you go. Here's what you need to make sure the ASI AIR can run it. After talking with ZWO at NEF, they are not a huge company. They are actually fairly small. So having the Astro community come together and work with them for cross-compatibility would just help immensely. Either way, the ASI AIR as it stands today is a great device that would help people get started in astrophotography, but I hope that this future iteration of the ASI AIR improvement wish list, as I call it, helps at least get the ball rolling and some ideas thinking. That way in the future we have some pretty cool additions. Even if it's not anything I mentioned, it just kind of sparks something else. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, or somewhat insightful, please do like, comment, and then maybe consider subscribing. I want to thank you for watching. Clear skies.